Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, man. Back at another video. At the content of the video, go smash that like button at the content of this channel. Go ahead, subscribe, man. Look, so yeah, it's been a little while. I wanted to wait till after the Super Bowl to talk about the Ravens again. Everything else before felt kind of irrelevant, right? So I want to talk about the biggest change that the Ravens need to make next season for this season to end, for that season, excuse me, to end with, them raising the trophy, right? All right. Obviously, we'll talk about, draft, free agency, things like that, right? But before all of that, it starts inside the building, right? The biggest thing the Ravens need to change next year is two things about their mentality, right? Number one, right, for me, okay, the Ravens have to be okay with being the hunted, right? Every time we hear about the Ravens talk, it's about their doubt, people doubting us, we're the underdogs, this and that. Every time the Ravens are clearly the team that is being hunted, they've cracked and folded underneath the pressure, right? We're going to talk about the Chiefs because the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, right? The Chiefs have been the hunted for a long time now. They embrace that. They're comfortable with that. They're comfortable with being the standard in the league and saying, hey, look, you guys are coming to take our spots, right? The Chiefs are probably the only team in the NFL where the Ravens are probably going to be a true underdog against that kind of team. Versus everybody else, you're where they're trying to get to, right? So for me, the Ravens have to be comfortable with being hunted, right? If you look at 2019, right, they would have hunted in that, they folded. You look at this year in the playoffs, they would have hunted, right? This was the best shot to get to the Super Bowl, right? This was a team that was like Chris Jones even said it. The Ravens were the best team in the league this year in the NFL. They were the best team we played this year. Chris Jones said that, right? So the Chiefs were aiming right at the Ravens, and the Ravens weren't ready for that, right? Okay, so for me, that's the number one thing the Ravens have to be more comfortable with, right? You don't have to force yourself to be the underdog. It's okay saying that, look, we're the big guy on campus. We're going to make the plays and we're going to win the game, right? For me, that's the number one thing the Ravens need to change. And for me, that starts off with John Harbaugh, right? John Harbaugh to me is a guy that, throughout the Ravens' history, they have played their best while they've been underdogs, right? They've been a team that's been doubted. When you think about the Ravens going into, Foxborough multiple times and the Ray Lewis era coming out with victories, right? Joe Flacco Super Bowl run when they was doubted, right? This is a new era, right? You have a MVP, a two-time MVP quarterback on your offensive side of football, right? You have a great defense on the other side of the football, right? You are no longer the team where it's like, well, if the Ravens get into the playoffs, watch out for them. No, you're one of the teams where if the Ravens get into the playoffs, we expect them to win. That has to be a mindset shift, right? For me, I felt like the Ravens they're not comfortable when they have to be put in situations where teams are coming after them, right? That's number one, right? And then the second thing, right? The Ravens they have to be willing to go down with how they played the entire season. What do I mean by that, right? Kansas City and even San Francisco, right? Both teams that realized they need to run the football more, right? Does running the football automatically equate to you, winning games, winning Super Bowl? No, right? But it was a part of their personality, it's part of the DNA of their team, right? The Chiefs realized earlier this year they probably passing the ball too much. They leaned into Isaiah Pacheco more. That helped them out, stabilize their game, right? The 49ers have ran the ball the entire year. I talked about it, the video I did a couple weeks ago. The 49ers were down 17 points versus the Lions. They did not stop running the football, right? They stuck to their game plan and ended up winning that game. 49ers in that game, I thought they went away from McCaffrey a little bit too much, but McCaffrey still ended up touching the ball 30 times in that game, all right? The Ravens, when they have had the biggest opportunities to really make hay in the playoffs, right? Really advance to the playoffs. They have gotten out of their way. They've gotten out of themselves, right? With the things that have gotten them to that point, they folded and panicked and got away from those things, right? So the panicky nature, the nature that when one thing goes wrong, everything collapses, right? The Ravens have to get out of that, right? Because it doesn't matter if you bring in Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, all these different kind of players, right? It doesn't matter if you draft the best edge player, draft the best corner, the best lineman. It doesn't matter that if when things get tough and things get trying, you guys panic, right? The Ravens panicked versus the Chiefs, right? First half, 17-7. They panicked. First quarter, they panicked, right? The Chiefs scored one touchdown. You could feel that the Ravens got tight. They thought, oh, wow, now this is a shootout. It was never a shootout, right? They got away from their game plan, okay? You can make all kinds of excuses about how the game flow went, and that's how it just went this and that way. The Chiefs, the 49ers, the teams that were in the Super Bowl, they don't make these kind of excuses, right? Oh, the game just went away from us. That's how I went. No, they stick to what they do best. They stick to their game plan. If you're a team that can run the football, if you're a team that, say, like example, right, even in the where a team that lost, right, Dan Campbell, right, in the Lions, okay, Dan Campbell's philosophy has been aggressiveness on fourth down throughout the entire year. The Lions went into that game versus the 49ers aggressive on fourth down throughout the entire game. They never wavered. I think maybe except for the one time into the first half. But besides that, they never wavered in that approach, right? They ended up losing the game, okay? But they went down with how they played the entire season. If the Ravens would have lost this game to the Chiefs, right? That game versus the Chiefs, playing how they played the entire year, yeah, you chalk up the Chiefs with a better team that day. It is what it is, right? You know, you try to get it next season. That's not how the Ravens went down. They went down in a game that was out of character once again. So for me, all of the upgrades to the roster, the running back room, new wide receivers, new offensive linemen, stabilizing the defense after losing Mike McDonald and things like that. All that stuff is important. All of that stuff that I'm going to talk about, during this stretch, all right? We're going to talk about that, right? But unless they can change the fact that they're not going to be okay with being hunted, and that they're not going to panic at the first sign of adversity, none of that stuff even matters. So to me, that's the biggest change the Ravens have to make. And how do you make those changes? That's something they got to decide in the building, man. That's going to start with the leadership of John Harbaugh. That's going to start with the leadership of the guys in the locker room. But too many times I've seen this Ravens team panic, right? Honestly, going into games next year, I want to see some games where the Ravens are down and come back, right? Because that seems to be the last hurdle for at least the offense, where it's like, we're losing in this game, we need to come back, right? I need to see that. I need to see it from Tom Monk. I need to see it from, John Harbaugh, and everybody else involved, right? So until the Ravens can really get their mentality right, because at the end of the day, right, this Chiefs team offensively wasn't their most talented team. They had a great defense on the other side of the ball, right? Spags did a great job with that defense. Chris Jones, McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, they had linebackers that were playing really well. So I'm not going to discredit the Chiefs defense. Really good defense, right? Their offense, they put it together and they found a way. But most of all, they stayed calm in the big moments and stuck to their game plan, right? Never when you see that team play, the Kansas City Chiefs play, does it look like they're getting out of their ship, right? They look like they're chugging along, right? It might be slow, it might not always be pretty, right? But they stand within themselves to get the result that they want at the end, right? And if they lose going down, playing the way that they know that they wanted to play, so be it. But you're not going to see them beat themselves and lose a game because they went away from what they've been doing the entire season, all right? So for the Ravens, that's the biggest change for next season, right? Can you, when adversity hits, be the same team you were in the regular season, right? Don't switch up. Don't panic in the first quarter. Can you be the same team when adversity hits? And if the Ravens can do that, that's going to be a very, very big step into them potentially winning the Super Bowl next year. All right, so that's my thoughts on them, man. Give me guys' thoughts in the comments. But it's Gary Wilson on the Fan TV. I'm out.